Short. Goodness, it goes. Did you get a cool flashlight?
I got some theirs, but I'll take yours.
USB drive was like
I love these things. Thank you so much.
That's when I started.
You're so close.
Like everything you get is 100.
Doing that.
Like 200, 300, you know.
So, next time, I just wait and take it.
Ready when it's 6:30.
That's what it's not that.
Yeah. He's the best one. You got a couple of lines.
It's I gotta put that together. Even bring it to me, pieces, this is that, any fix that. Yeah. You, sir. Sure.
Okay, it's official. I mean, 6:30, I'll come to you. Please stand. My pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Public participation. If you'd like to speak to the council, please fill out a form and hand it to Shannon. Please indicate on the form if you wish to speak during the discussion on a specific agenda item. Remember, council members are not allowed to answer questions during public participation. Please state your name and address for the record. Shannon?
Yes, Mayor. We have Kevin and Jill Radke. Good evening. Hope you guys are all well. I've met some of you at different lectures, one of the bigger things at the church. We've been there. But tonight we come and to talk about McMacken and the street and the speed limit. I think it's great what you guys have done so far on this end with 30, where it says 30 miles an hour, and where there's tractor signs and stuff like that. And where you even have the flashing, how much fast you're going. The problem we have is we live on Barrington Hills Boulevard. So if you guys know where that is, it's across from Gina Barb's tree. So we get to see that. But, so when people come or going south and they get over the top of that hill, it's free game and they're flying down and they're going around us, our neighbors, you know, everybody's pretty stressed out about it. There's not even a sign that says, when you come up over that hill, like right before you get to the hill, there's a 30-mile-per-hour sign, trees kind of blocking it. But once you get over that and you start going down, there's nothing, there's not a sign,
Right.
mile-per-hour sign. And I think people think, well, they're just out of the woods when they get there and they're flying. And when I mean flying, they're landing in our easement yard.
So we've had people run off into our easement and.
Are you at the corner of Barrington?
Barrington and
That is. Yeah. Okay. And so, you know, so much that, like our neighbors, us, we can't even, well, I'm just slowing down, before I can get my turn signal on, that I wanna turn, they're trying to go around me.
speed around me and speed up the hill or speed down the hill.
So I think in general, yeah, they think that now they can go 40, 45, 50 miles per hour, because there's no more signs that say it's still 30 miles per hour.
Yeah, and they get over that hill, and so I guess our concern is safety. When I'm trying to even pick up trash that they throw along right there, my safety, you know, and then just being just our neighbors, so we're kind of representing a neighborhood also.
Yes. I was gonna say, then the fact that, you know, when it is a little slick out there and you get that turn, there's been a lot of cars that run off that road right there.
And that just shows you how fast they're going, but it's just, it's very unsafe just for us, just living there, pulling in and out. Like I said, I compliment you, what you guys have done for this half, the northern half, and with the flashing light. It's like, could we get one of those that says what speed you're going, coming south?
Yeah, we can direct it to staff and look at that.
Okay.
The problem with it is, you know, southbound is Bartonville, so it's 30, the other side of the road unfortunately is not Bartonville,
But we're
there's still 40 of them.
That's fine.
Okay.
If we can stop them coming down
Okay.
the hill,
So even if it's only one direction, it still might even
it helps.
get people to start saying, well, I know it's 30 going this way, so it's probably 30 that way, but they might not know, but if that gets people slowing down in both directions, that's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, there still is issues with the northbound, which I don't like either, but if we can stop the southbound.
And we had talked, like, you know, a lot with the former chief of police. I know we have a new one. Is that you?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You know, and he had always said, well, there's no, you know, they see me when I try, you know, when we're.
For speed
For
traps.
speed traps. I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
speed
okay,
trap.
let's, maybe we get more creative, but because the amount of people that are speeding coming down, it's, and this was all like kind of what we had talked about, like, I remember Clay talked to me over at the church when we were voting for you as mayor and things, and how that was a thing that this road, we were gonna really try and work on, get it, you know, if we can get that. We just need the 30 miles per hour to be really enforced on our end. And that's why we're here.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you,
Thank you.
direct staff and pull it in.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else? No. Okay, thank you. I would like to, do some acknowledgements really quickly. I would like to thank council member Randall for cutting and clearing the tree on Rockgate Road. You certainly deserve the Bartonville Lumberjack Award. That was a really weird tree with a lot of vines. That was a messy tree, and that was over the road there for a few days. Appreciate that. I would like to also acknowledge our ESD. They've helped us with many trees during this past week, since we've had lots and lots of rain. I know you cleared one on a huge one over the southbound lane of 407, and you also did some work on Rockgate. We appreciate that, and probably other places around the town, but y'all are great with that. And also I want to thank our PD too for all, they were, and that was over there on Brasher. There was another tree that fell over there, and they were up there working, clearing trees. So we had a lot of tree activities. It's been fun this past week. I would also like to thank the staff and council and the volunteers for helping with cleanup day on Saturday. We'll be discussing this in May, and so it seems to drop a little bit more every year, but again, we're gonna talk about that in May, and we're not gonna get into that tonight, but thank you for your help. We appreciate everybody that jumped in and helped out with that this past weekend, Joe. So thank you, appreciate it. Appointed representatives, liaison report, I'm trying to leave the letter here for my turn, okay. Denton County Emergency, ESD chief.
Well, I hope everybody survived the hailstorm. I don't know about y'all, but this is gonna be my second group. I've only lived here not even 2 years, and I'm not gonna be my second group, so. I tell everybody, we must live in the Bermuda Triangle. So yeah, we had a lot of trees, so y'all were young, so y'all were, a lot of road blockage, so it creates challenges for trying to respond to emergencies, but you know, we managed and figured out a way to get around it, so. For my report, operationally, we're busy as always, the last 3 months have been the busiest 3 months ever, and so if you look at some of our chart, the yellow, you can see it's by far, it's the 5 year year to date, and so you can see it's through the, it's more so than ever. So, but, you know, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. I told you previously that last year was more of the, dealing with the institutional crisis. We're now starting to focus a lot on our strategic planning. There have been a lot of strategic planning activities, and so there's a lot of things that are working, so I'm gonna kind of go over hit some high points. We do have a advisory stakeholder meeting with all our mayors and town managers, and that's gonna give me more opportunity to go into more detail of some things we're working on. And that'll be our very first one. It's gonna be exciting because, we wanna do this for, you know, transparency and just kind of being open and getting feedback. So it's an hour and a half event, we'll provide lunch, we're gonna speak probably for about 45 minutes, and then we're allow each of the stakeholders have some comments and kind of have some discussion, and maybe feed off each other, and let them know what's best. So we look forward to that, but some of the big things that are happening, this Thursday, besides the stakeholder meeting, is we've got the contractual agreement between ESD 1 and ESD 2 that has to be approved. So that's kind of holding a lot of things. So right now, as you know, the ESD 2 was created in November from the election. It started in January, but there's no, they can contract with whoever they want to. Well, obviously both boards want to work together, but there has to be a legal binding contract for that to happen. And so we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes between buying ambulances, looking at staff vehicles and fire engines and stuff like that, but this agreement has to be in place for a lot of that to happen. So that's gonna happen Thursday, and that'll kind of kick off a lot of things. To kind of give you a timeline of events of what the board has been approving and looking at, last March, at their meeting, they approved 3 ambulances, so they're buying 3 ambulances, of which one, I'm working as fast as I can to get it delivered by February. That's what they're telling me. They may get it here in January. The goal there is the board wants that ambulance in service by January. They also want a station, a temporary station, for the service by January timeframe as well. And the thought being, obviously, it's kind of politically driven, but they really want to show the citizens, yes, you're paying the electric tax, that's doing this. It's going to be right through our Copper Canyon Road. We have this new station that's going to be down north of Texas Motor Speedway, place. So it's just kind of showing, yes, we're doing those things. So again, that agreement is kind of binding a lot of that together. So that ambulances was done last month. This month, we're going to be approved. We have sealed bids for 5 staff vehicles and a battalion chief vehicle. So right now, we have no command on it. We go to a structure fire or a major accident with extrication. And so we've got a short-term plan to put some battalion chiefs in place that will kind of help eliminate that challenge. And so that's being in the works. And then next month, we're doing the bidding process to look at some replacement for fire engines and a ladder truck, and we have no ladder truck in our district. So that's another thing we're looking at. So all those things are happening, and that'll kind of come to a head in June when they start doing their budget workshop. So as you know, the preliminary tax appraisal stuff came out just recently. We're already kind of formulating, we're already gathering all the quotes and the strategic plan of what we need to look at next year. And then by July 25th is when the certified bills will come out. And then, of course, we'll have the budget really buttoned up by then, we'll set the tax rate in August, approve the budget final in September. So it's just like every other municipal government. So that's all in the works. And so we're moving at light speed. I'm telling the board, just bear with me. There's a lot of unknowns. We're working, you know, a lot of sleepless nights, but we're getting through this. And I do feel like, I'm very optimistic that we're going to get everything done. Probably in the window between January and March is what I realize, because anytime we deal with outside vendors, whether it be the architect or manufacturer, there's always going to be something. And heaven forbid something happens over the league, everything else is moving. So other than that, that's kind of a nutshell of what we're working on. I'll do that. I'll take any questions. I got some community sales talking about. Anyone on that? Couple of things real quick. I just want to talk real quickly on some community things we got coming up. I mentioned this last time. We have we've got our big signature bid coming up with the Carry the Load in May. That's going to be a big deal. I don't know if Megan, you have the handout?
I don't have that for everybody, but I can email them out. So our second annual Carry the Load event will be May 18th. And this year's beginning in Bartonville, which we're really excited about. So we'll be at Lantana Community Church, and then we will come out and then go by the Gold Star family's home at the intersection of Lantana Trail and 407, come through Lantana, and then back up to Marty B, then through Saddlebrook and end at Station 511.
So halfway, I think it's right where Marty B. He has a pit stop there, right stop, and then drinking a little taco, and then we finish up the station. So it's a big deal. Last year was our first kind of a big event. We wanted to do an open house, bring the community. I'm real big on community events. And so we thought, instead of us doing our own little event, let's tag along with something else. And it was such a big event that it gained national attention. So we're actually going to be a nationally, part of the national chain of Caribou. It's actually sponsored national. So it's a big deal. So we're very proud and look forward to that. Other thing we have going on is we've got the polling place. We had a very success earlier this year with that. And of course, we did it back in November. So we're doing the polling again for early election day. And of course, the last thing I think you're probably aware of, I had not heard back, I presented to you before about the First Ranch conversation and talking about some roads, stuff like that for them, for private roads, for emergency service purposes. But I think they're kind of holding out because if you've seen the signs of the Proposition G, in Flower Mound, and I think they're waiting to see how that turns out. There was a First Ranch meeting in, I think, Canyon Falls, I believe it was somewhere, and so there's people on both sides of that argument, so we'll just have to wait and see. And I think that's what they're waiting to see what the outcome of that Proposition G. It's interesting, I see all the signs all over here, and I go, "Ooh, like, why are you putting those environment things?" So, but that's what that's all about, and so I think they're just kind of waiting to see what happens there, so. Once we see how that goes, and we'll see how the Proposition goes. Other than that, that's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Police Department, Chief Riggs.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I don't have quite as many calls, but we have had an increase in calls as well. But before I get to that, I also want to thank them for helping us out with those trees, and also Councilman Crandall. Appreciate you helping us out there. As you noticed, we did have some big increase in calls in March, 138 from 91 last year. That's about a 35% increase. Most of our calls are agency assist. We have 21 agency assists. We did have a few disturbances. When you see those disturbances, though, they're more like at a 7-Eleven, somebody trying to use a fake ID, buying cigarettes, and just somebody threatening another person. So they weren't really reports we took, but we did respond to a disturbance. That's how it is. So when you see that, it's not the true fight disturbance that you see in there. So other than that, so, we did have an increase. Self-initiated activity was up almost 100. So we have had our officers out there working traffic, trying to slow people down, because that is a complaint we get on Jeter and this isn't the only place we have those complaints. I've been doing this a while. That's probably my biggest complaint, which we'll continue to go out there and address those issues. So give me a call and we'll work on that. But as you can tell, we had 381 total self-initiated calls this past month. Officers doing a great job out there, making some good arrests. They just, we got a real good group and they like to work, and that's nice. And plus we get to serve a great community. The other thing we have on the very back, we will be doing the DEA drug take back April 27th. There will be a drop-off spot here at City Hall. And we're still waiting on the call. We're not sure when we're going to get the call. They don't have a delivery date for us. And even when we get that vehicle, it's going to take us at least 2 months to outfit those. Unfortunately, that's just sort of the way it is, no matter where you work. It takes a long time to get them. You may get, approval in October. Most of the time, you don't even get them. If you get them by March or April, you're doing really good. If you get them outfitted by July, you're doing very well. So this isn't unusual, just so y'all know. It's typical in law enforcement. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
And once the finish supply gets the delivery, it's another 2 months after they receive it, the time you get it out there.
It takes them typically, once they get the vehicle, they're saying it's 2 months. Now, it could be 5 weeks, 6 weeks, but they give you that 2-month window to outfit the whole unit. So yes, sir, it's gonna take an additional 2 months once they receive it.
I think the last vehicle was waiting on the emblems for the sign, that said it's taking forever. They are for emblems.
I know if you drive by there, you see about 40, 50 vehicles sitting out there, and it's just hard to believe that there's that kind of demand for that type of vehicle.
Those are just the ones that brought,
Yeah, I know.
on there.
Thank you.
And
The noise complaints, where were those kind of?
the noise complaints,
Those are three of them.
you know, I didn't look those up.
Okay.
I looked at the disturbances before I came in, but I mean, I can take a guess.
Yeah.
I would guess they're probably come from the 407.
That's one of my questions. I want to know what is a disturbance? What is it considered? So you already answered that one.
Yeah, and those are some of the things that you look at those and see disturbance, or we see a shop fire or something like that. We want to explain that a little bit more because it does sound like it's something like a true. When I think disturbance and everybody thinks disturbance, it's a dead body.
Yeah.
These aren't.
Okay. That's a good one. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 4, Town Administrator, March 2024 report, staff.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If you go to page 21 of the packet, actually just skip over to page 22 for our revenues. We are 50% through the budget year with this reporting. Again, it's always a month behind, so we're looking at the March numbers. So we really get a good idea of what we're going to look like for the year. Property taxes, again, we're right on the nose. We're 0.5% over the collections with everything there, so I'm not sure how I got that close. I mean, I think I'm that good, but honestly, that was really kind of an anomaly to be that close. Sales taxes are still being collected very quickly. They're healthy right now. We should, again, see 50% remaining for our budget. We only see 41%. Don't expect that to drop off. Franchise fees also, a lot of those in particular, water franchise fees are considerably over what we budgeted already for this year. So I don't know if it's because we've got some more water accounts going or what that is. I haven't discovered what that anomaly is, but again, it's creating a healthy revenue stream. So I'm gonna keep looking at it. That's one of those things when you see something like that, it's good news, but I always like to make sure I understand the good news. So when the good news stops.
You want to make sure it's real.
Yes, exactly. Other than franchise, Mary, you asked me that last time, what did I say of the franchise order? Big numbers in there are interest, that's actually we're getting about almost $14,000 a month on our interest, our accounts. Development fees, that one, probably the next month's financials, you'll see that one jump because Knights Landing is paying their inspection fees for the Knights West part of it. So actually, instead of 30,000, I think it's 46,000 is what we're gonna pay in there, so that'll balance out. Permit fees, again, very healthy. One thing about it, there's a lot of houses under construction, they're big. And permit fees are based on AC square footage primarily, and so the permits are to match. And in municipal court, again, we see 4 dockets of 40 almost every month. The officers are busy. Again, this is not a revenue stream for us. They're always looking for compliance. But in that process, they do write a lot of speeding tickets and moving violations. So again, this report is on track and we're faster on that. The next page is our sales tax collections. Again, we're just slow and steady. We continue to increase every quarter, if you will, almost every month, because again, we'll see that little dip again in the next 3 or 4 months. We'll see that dip with the quarterly pay in the next week. If we go to the next page, general fund expenditures. Again, we're looking for 50% or more to remain. I'm in good shape except everywhere except the municipal court. Again, that was my prosecutor because of the size of the docket. She went up on her fee. I'll probably need an adjustment there later this year for budget. No questions on that? Kind of blasted through this, I'll make sure. Then I pause. Administration, again, we're looking for about 50% or less in all categories. We're right there except for our capital improvements. Everybody else is sitting pretty close to budget. Others still have a lot in it. The big ones in there, banners and signs, we still have a lot to go there. Election expense, since we did not have an election, that $14,000 will not need to be expended, so that may be part of my budget, and then move it from there to somewhere else where we have needed that revenue.
And it's called this.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, overweight. So again, we're in good shape, expenditure wise and administration. Question there. Yeah. And then again on police, and with the budget amendments that y'all approved, we're in good shape there as well. We were running really hot in maintenance with those two vehicles that continue, they're in the shop. But with that budget amendment, we're okay in our police side as well. So we're just on 55% remaining for expenditures throughout the remaining 50% of the budget year.
You ever get the engine in the squad car? The engine?
Yeah, it's running fine. We haven't had any, actually, I was driving it today. So it's running fine, yes, sir.
We got down for a very brief, a day or two, we got down to one patrol.
Yes.
So we'd like to not have that happen again. Thought with the engine replacement. That one's great now, but when they replaced the engine, there were a few other things.
The fuel injectors, they replaced those, and then 176, which is the one that the sergeant drives. 176, one that the sergeant drives. That one, we took it to the dealership. They said that it needed $2,500 worth of work. And we just said, hold off, because it does have high mileage, and we sort of said, let's wait to see. Putting more money. It's running okay. We just put some FTP in it, clear it up. I'm like, hey, $10 for STP versus $2,500, I'll go for $10. So we're trying to just keep them going. But yeah, the other ones are running okay. The check engine lights come on a couple times. We just take it in, they reset it. They say there's nothing they can do about it. But overall, they're, other than we did get down to one vehicle and we wanted to prevent that, down the road.
Next year.
If we move to page 27, we have our quarterly investment reports. Again, this shows all of the cash holdings the town has. It doesn't break it out into accounts on that first page or second page, actually. If you go to page 29, you can see that for that quarter, this is when we got most of our property tax in, so your principal went up by almost $800,000.
Yeah, that was mine.
So again, your cash position is incredibly healthy. We'll talk about how healthy that is at the end of this meeting when we go through roads and drainage. But again, right now, as of this item, we're monitoring again where our investments are indexed. So again, as interest rates go up, this was not the case when I got here, but now they are indexed. So as interest rates move, our business movement. So again, we're at 5.6% on our return, and it's very liquid. So I'm not doing anything exotic. We're just making sure it's there. So
Go ahead. I was gonna ask you a quick question on the revenue expenditure for workers' comp.
you want to talk about that one, Shannon?
With the salary increases this year, we were way under on our estimates of TML, so we decided this year to go ahead and bring us up to the correct salaries that we have. So that was the additional increase in our salaries to be where we're at.
Okay.
That's a one time, so it's out of monthly, that $5,000.
Yeah.
We actually I've got it highlighted, and we literally talked about it right when we got
Okay.
here.
That's a one-time catch up and we're.
It's a one time catch up, it's not a monthly, so
Thank
it'll be
you.
okay.
It's just the one figure that caught my eye, it's like, okay.
Yeah, 324% of budget.
And we want to make sure that we are current in case somebody gets injured, we still have enough to cover if we need to have the workers' comp.
Okay, thank you.
Don't have a question, that's fair, that's it. There's your workers.
Yeah.
The one I highlighted. Don't no questions, that's all I have there.
Good? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Consent agenda, this has been consistent all the time. A lot, I maybe approve the consent agenda. I just maybe remember the consent agenda by any. I may consider the press chart and motion and vote on the consent agenda. Number one, consider approval of the March 19, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Number 19.
I make a motion we approve the minutes from March 19th, 2024 regular meeting minutes.
All those in favor? Motion carried 5-0. Public hearings and regular session. Discuss and consider approval of ordinance amending the Bartonville Community Development Corporation budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2024. Staff presentation of that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This budget amendment will take funds from the cash balance, it's not reserve fund really, but we just call it reserve fund, the EDC holds in the bank account. Their current balance is $771,000. Normally, you wouldn't see this happen at this time. This is a budget amendment to pay for grant expenses that have already been approved, primarily Marty B's. Normally, you'd see the budget amendment come through with the agreement. When I'm on my game, I missed this. So again, this is on me. You wouldn't normally see us trying to plug a hole where I've got an agreement out there that we don't have the funds in that line item. This just cleans that up. So again, all the public hearings have taken place. The agreements were approved by the attorneys. We just don't have the money in that line item. I don't like to spend that much in there. Basically, line item's got zero.
Those were the two items we approved in, I think, March.
Yes, sir.
Now, was that 143, was that inclusive of all Marty's?
Yes. There's actually still some money remaining in that line item, just it's 143,500 short.
Yeah.
To pay for the fees. If you have any questions, they do have the money. Basically, they'll have about $500,000 left if they spend every dime in their remaining budget plus this amendment, so there's some good shape. Well,
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance amending the Bartonville Community Development Corporation budget for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, and providing an effective date.
I'll say.
All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Number two, discuss and consider approval of a resolution authorizing membership in the Atmos City Steering Committee and authorizing payment of 5 cents per capita to Atmos City Steering Committee to fund regulatory related activities related to Atmos Energy Corporation. Staff presentation. This is a good thing for our town because it gives us some say-so when they decide to raise the rate. Go ahead, Alden.
thank you, Mayor. Again, I am back on my game, so y'all won't see that. We are part of the steering committee for when Encore pushes rates out and they work to, increase those rates. We're part of a coalition of communities and cities that push back against that and negotiate on behalf of towns and their residents. I got the notice from Atlas that they were getting ready to do the same thing. I reached out to Ed and said, hey, do you have anything like this for Atlas Gas? And he said, no one exists. And so he forward to me. And for $85, because that's what it costs annually, because our per capita, I'm recommending that we join. And again, it gives us that, we get that benefit of, how many communities are in this one, sorry, 185 cities, which is 60% of the total area served by Atlas Gas. It gives us that power to work with them and the attorneys that they hire collectively to push back against the rate increases.
Have some say-so, yeah.
Yeah. Again, we're part of this on board, we just don't have them for gas.
And it's $85.
$85, yes. Annually.
That's pretty good to have a say-so and.
Yeah, it's a low dollar, but I was just thinking, I have Pinnacle, I mean, everybody uses a different gas provider because we don't have, tanks. So I was just trying to figure out how that plays into it.
Because the limit exposure is for the partner, it is very, 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 very limited. That is not good.
Then we make it and just put that line in. I don't know where else Atlas is here.
I think it's,
Yeah,
That's what I didn't know that it was even in.
I knew that some part of the town will have gas lines running to it, but it's a very small part.
about 3 years ago, I got a couple of map, that along with gas lines that came through Bartonville. And the field lines are underneath this and going through here, but nothing is hooked up to it. So I'm just curious as to how much of a benefit that.
There's a few people that are paid to get, I know, Rick Hopper has gas to his house. But I don't, I'm guessing it's Atlas.
I thought the commercial areas on 407 were, but I may be.
Okay. Are they? Okay,
I believe so, everything on 407 is that.
okay, so yeah.
Still $85, that's cheap insurance.
It's cheap and it helps them.
And of course, I'll ask the question and I'll have an answer for next year when you look at this before I take the budget.
So do you have a motion?
I move to approve resolution authorizing membership in the Atlas City Steering Committee, authorizing payments of 5 cents per capita to the Atlas City Steering Committee to fund regulatory and related activities related to Atlas Energy Corporation.
All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ken. Number 3, discuss and consider approval of expenditure in amount not to exceed $32,930 for replacement of West Jeter Road and failed. Staff.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item, because they've got the steel plates out there, we've been able to slow down a little bit and get a better price, not the emergency that we had. And SPI, our general contractor who we usually use for these types of things, come back with this quote. This amount does include the steel plates that are out there now. And I don't know if you've driven out there, I drove out there earlier, looked like they had migrated a little bit with their trucks in. He has now put those back together and put a little asphalt around them so that they'll make it until we get the culvert. If y'all approve tonight, the culvert should be delivered next week. Next week, you want to start, and we're going to start on April 29th.
Okay.
Get that completed.
So CMP, that's corrugated metal,
Yes,
Right.
we go back with the same that's there.
the same. This is my thought, doing steel reinforced concrete, I mean, what is the longevity of the CMP versus the corrugated, or the concrete?
So the concrete's a lot longer. It's also probably triple as expensive.
Okay,
And it's hard to say, that one looks like it's been in quite a long time. All of them are gonna wear out. You know, the CMP does last a while. It kind of concaves and then it cracks and then it kind of goes. The concrete does the same thing, but then it mostly seems like it falls away or gets silted in and then same thing. But the lifespan on reinforced concrete is greater. It's just the cost is significantly higher. I think we'd be looking closer to 80 to, at this size, 80 to 90 to 100,000.
Yeah.
that answers my question.
Yeah, we'd like to see. Okay.
It's significantly cheaper and it's lighter too. Each stick they come in 6-foot sticks, and even at 30 feet, it's 5 sticks and they're, tons versus pounds, so.
It's one of our lower volume areas as well, as far as traffic.
Yep.
So-
Right, but yeah.
That cover's been in at least a year.
Oh, yeah, at least.
Normally, when they put that in, I'll cat tail flip around and try to clean it out, and look, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Any other questions for Bruce?
They're really good. This is a pretty good price, honestly. I was surprised that it came before. Especially some of our contracts we've been in the last 3 months have been astronomical, just how busy everyone is. So it's nice that they're able to at least give honorable pricing, if that makes sense.
Community was real responsive when we realized it was starting to fail. We're having some vandalism issues with our road closure, to get out there and get those steel plates apart so we can roll them down back up and avoid having to investigate a lot further, but what was going on last night. It was unfortunate, because that was dangerous. People, that dip was getting really bad and we thought it was gonna cave in.
It can't get deeper and deeper.
Almost every time it rained, it got deeper.
You couldn't hit that thing on speed.
You could actually see where some of the undercarriages, it's great, you get it, it's.
Bottoming out.
So the second I saw that, I knew I had a real problem, I didn't have liability issues, I didn't sleep plates.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you, Chris.
Chris, thank you very much.
Council,
You have a motion?
yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the expenditure in an amount not to exceed $32,930 for the replacement of the West Street Road jail culvert.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Number 4, discuss and consider approval of order number 6 with SPI asphalt pavement repair in the amount of $203,170.30. And authorization for the town administrator to execute the same on behalf of the town. Staff presentation.
I'm gonna turn it over to Chris again, we have a map in here.
It's a map, I can just run through the areas, so it's gonna be East Jeter, kind of where we started phase 1 to the east, so kind of back towards town hall, fix it, doing crack sealing, do some pothole repair there. Then we're really gonna tackle the rest of Stonewood. And the thought being, we've got the first part milled and overlaid, that was the roughest part. Now it's kind of, it doesn't look like we have big failures, but it's kind of rocky. So we're just gonna go kind of seal fog coat, just get a nice new top on it, and so it looks like the rest of it. The back part of that neighborhood still looks good. Then we go to Country Court. That was one that, I know it's not a lot of homes or volume on it, but, in terms of the report, it looked like rehabilitating it instead of reconstruction was appropriate from the old, streets report. And then really, the next big piece would be Dove Creek. So this is trying to get as much volume done via seal coat and crack sealing. And Dove Creek's all the way from,
That's what feeds into Hat Creek, right?
correct, yeah. It's like the part right where it turns south and feeds into Hat Creek
And Deer Hollow.
and Deer Hollow. It's kind of weird because it's, I think a little bit it's concrete and it's like a Deer Hollow, yeah, but and it changes names, but right where it's concrete, or right where it goes to asphalt, and you make that turn south, it kind of really, the quality of the road is down quite a bit, but
So we're going to do crack sealing and stuff.
crack sealing and, where we can, try to get like fog seal to make it look, yeah, smoother.
He's also put enough in this budget for, I've got 2 big potholes on Jeter.
Yeah.
That come out and rattling teeth, and we've got one in Macon 407, so.
There's,
He's got quantity in there, as we find those other potholes, we can get that taken care of on this work orders.
there's some overrun to address, probably about 20 to 30 extra potholes throughout town.
Well, Dove Creek Road, they're gonna have some heavy trucks moving in the next couple of years while they develop their follow.
Maybe hold up.
That's gonna put a lot of stress. on
Yes,
the road.
But it's trying to hit volume and just do surface replacement rather than reconstruction, which the next item addresses, where it's not a lot, but.
And this will come from street maintenance, sales tax. We're running just like with our regular sales tax, because that's now 3/8%. I'm probably gonna be short on my revenue projection. $200,000, we're gonna do $200,000 better than what I projected in street maintenance. It's gonna be a nice thing for us going forward.
Should we hold off on Dove Creek right now because of the construction for Deer Hollow?
I mean,
I just,
it may be 2 or 3 years for those houses. Well, that's the only thing, so.
We can, let me look at what we have the recommendation for. If we can just hit it with a surface course, maybe an inch, just fog seal, so it looks nice, because it's kind of the same deal where it's the aggregates kind of separating, where it's just an emulsive treatment on the top of it.
Okay.
Seal it would be good, and then maybe less of the crack seal and less of the going further.
There's not a lot of cracks in there that's deep.
Right.
And but most of it that's in there is key stated. You know, my concern would be, what do we do to get the bang for the buck for the next 2 or 3 years? Because a lot of traffic frequency go back and forth on that road.
Big traffic, for sure.
Big trucks. Yeah.
I mean, we just was understanding that the seals are only good for 2 to 5 years anyway. So we're kind of lining it up with when it needs to be done again. If we run into traffic for 3 to 5 years, we're just gonna have to know it's gonna be redone in 3 to 5 years.
either way, it's a patch. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have a motion? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just want to see if y'all have any other questions.
I'll make a motion to approve work order number 6 with SBI asphalt pavement repair in the amount of $203,470.30, and authorization for the town administrator to execute same on behalf of
So, all those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Number 5, discuss and consider approval of the East Jeter, thank you, Chris, East Jeter, road reconstruction project limits and proposed funding.
Yeah, I haven't turned this one over to Chris. This is, it looks a little different than last time because of the time crunch, but things are really starting to fall apart very quickly in some areas, including this section of East Year, we wanted to push forward. So what you'll be looking at tonight are the limits of the project, as well as authorizing, Chris to move forward with the engineering portion, which is in the budget of about 89,000. He thinks he can do it for a little less, right?
Yes, so in the time, so the way this was thrown together was really, I was hoping just to get scope, because we kind of targeted as like, okay, where do we want to start and stop? We want to start where we stopped before, and then how much of the funding do we want to spend? Because, so we went, I was like, where do we get to around $1 million? And that turned into 1,650. And then that's what 1,650 linear feet looks like. If we want to get to try to half a mile, just kind of scaling up the numbers, we're looking at like, probably 1.6 million. If we want to go back to 1,000, we're probably looking at 800,000. And then we'll stick to 10% of it. We can make that work, either way.
I really like the 1650 because, I mean,
Gets us around the corner.
and you got a lot of rough areas in those corners.
That's the roughest section of West Cheater. Just through those two curves.
Yes,
So,
so.
So if we like those limits, this is what it looks like. We're thinking it's somewhere on the construction cost of, probably around $900 to $1 million. Is the scope.
I like the scale and scope, and that, when we talk about our money, I'm not comfortable going up to 1.6 right now. On expanding the scope to a quarter mile. I just.
And
we have good reserves, but.
Yeah, this still uses the GeoGrid and assumes that, so it is the more pricey section using
it's
GeoGrid.
comparable to what we just did, so that's a good thing. Again, the only thing I worry about in this section is you've got the Knights Landing going in. And again, we're gonna have, build a brand new road, we're gonna have big heavy trucks going over it from the get-go.
But isn't that gonna be just a few houses in there, like?
14 houses, and it's not the houses, it's the diesel trucks that are delivering the lumber and the shingles and all that stuff, the concrete.
And it's possible some of those will come down Gibbons as opposed to coming in off four seven.
And they may.
Either way, they're gonna get one of these sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is, as long as there's homes being built along here, it's just,
We're gonna deal with it.
yes, sir. So,
And they're gonna go with the new section anyway, but the GeoGrid should all up.
it's a great test function, plus, it will discourage, construction usually discourages them from, they won't take this while it's in construction. It's terrible.
Or finishing October hasn't moved yet. Because we've had all this rain and the garbage is, it's been so wet. I think I don't know.
It seemingly is very promising, because a lot of the issues is the moisture next to the subgrade with the lime, and it just makes the cracks propagate through, because the lime is hard, but doesn't do good against moisture, so this kind of, the GeoGrid seems like it is holding up.
Putting that culvert underneath Jeter, I mean, that moved all that water that used to stand in there, it doesn't stand, it moves out.
And then on these, we are doing RCP.
Yeah.
On this bigger, more collector roadways, we're gonna do RCP on the reconstructs, but on the ones where we're just patching and not doing anything, those are the CMPs of that lower volume, try to save money.
Everybody okay with this project?
Yeah, what are these looking at as far as start time?
So this would probably be start time in, what's today, April, we're probably looking September, bidding, October bidding. September, October, actual construction, so your main date to your problem is more fiscal, next fiscal year really, than construction to happen, but I would say the fall.
Okay.
And we can discuss as we get closer through the budget process, we talk about what all remain in your cash reserves and how close you want to spend. Okay, we don't want to be a bank. We want to spend the money where it's expected to be spent, within reason. Again, that gives us time, plus the work order 6 and the other repairs will start before then, so people will see that we're all the way to this process.
Any other questions or?
No,
Okay. Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the East Year Road Phase 2 reconstruction project limits and proposed project.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it.
Council.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Number 6, discuss and consider approval of appointing members to the Bartonville Special Events Committee. Shannon?
Thank you, Mayor. We had a volunteer on the special events committee, turn in a resignation, it was alternate member Melissa DeWitt. And it was effective immediately, so we, advertised the vacancy and received 2 applications. They're in your packet. We had an application from Carrie Sassage and then also Rosemary Wright. I spoke with the special events committee chair and we would like to recommend that the council appoints Ms. Carrie Sassage. She is a 17-year resident and she also helped with the special event, the 50th anniversary celebration. And Miss Rosemary Wright has only been here for 6 months. And then also in this agenda item, it has come to our attention that this Councilmember Roberts is a little too busy for this. So Councilmember Crandall has stated that he would replace Councilmember Roberts for the next year on this event committee.
Do you have any discussion?
Well, I just would like to say, I know our applicant, Carrie, and she's a really good help all the time. Anytime we ask her to do anything, she's on the spot helping. And, I think this would be a good thing for our event committee.
And usually staff would not give you a recommendation, but since there's such a disparity between the two, 6 months, 17 years, and I also helped them craft events, we felt that it was important that we made sure that we noted that.
I'll make a motion make a motion to appoint Carrie Sassage and Council Crandall to the Board of Special Events Committee.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 7, discuss and consider adopting the Bartonville Municipal Court Confidentiality Policy and Agreement. Staff presentation. Shannon?
Thank you again, Mayor. Andrew brought this to our attention, that the Supreme Court has brought down that they would like to have all municipal courts in Texas follow a confidentiality agreement policy. So our municipal court Judge Renzi has reviewed this. Town Attorney Boss has also reviewed this, and we brought it to you to see if you can approve and adopt this policy, and that way with staff that interacts with the court can sign it.
So they just keep kind of things confidential. Anybody who looks at court records that works with them has to sign a confidentiality, so they keep it to their neighbors. This one's all good.
We already do that, obviously, but this is just a bit fair.
It just kind of surprised me that this wasn't already a thing. I don't think it's just, yeah. Right.
At the same time, thanks.
Exactly.
Have a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt the Bartonville Municipal Court Confidentiality Policy and Agreement.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, council.
Number 8, discuss and consider nomination of slate of nominees for Denver Area 911 District Board of Managers. Staff presentation.
Thank you again, Mayor. This is the
every 2 years, we are able to, as a municipality, nominate somebody to the slate of board of managers for Denco Area 911 District. And so this is our time, and, the person that is up for, expiration is Jim Carter. You have nominated him in the past, so we're bringing this forward to you to see if you would wish to nominate him or some different person. And then at the next council meeting, we'll bring a resolution nominating whoever you so choose. And then we can turn that in by the deadline of May 31st.
Everybody okay with Jim?
Now, have we had anyone else that even expressed interest?
No.
Not that we know of, no.
And I know Mr. Carter, he's always been there true
Yeah.
to the core, and done a good job, and I've talked to him several times, and I'm just
Yeah.
kind of surprised that, cause nothing's forever, but he's kind of forever.
I think that's a good job,
He
so
does, yeah.
we just direct staff in to bring that resolution back next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, sounds good. Number 9, discussion of year-to-date fiscal year 2023, 2024 financials. That,
Thank you, Mayor. As we prepare to get ready, start talking about budget, this is the detail sheet that I always say I've got, but we don't put it in every package because I want you to get bogged down. But as I go through this, talk a little bit about when we expect to see some numbers. Chief Bond had mentioned, we're getting ready to start looking at preliminary tax roll information. Shannon and I are scheduled to go April 25th to the CAD kind of kickoff meeting that they do annually. We'll discuss the processes and where they are in that. I think last year we did get our preliminary rolls during that meeting.
That was shortly thereafter.
So again, we won't know what that's gonna look like until about that time. And again, and we won't see the certified until later in July.
End of July.
So again, we'll look at the revenue numbers from that perspective as we, I'll use what we have now, and then as we get more information, I'll load that in for y'all to view. Sales and mixed beverage tax, again, if it continues, especially with Marty B going up the venue at some point, I'll review that. That may increase this next year. Again, I like to always budget conservatively on revenues, but I want to make sure we're also not sandbagging and we've actually projected so that y'all can spend that in whatever you need to. Franchise fees, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to explore why the water franchise fee seems to be so incredibly high compared to budget. That is unusual. And then again, I'll review all the other franchise fees and see if those need to be adjusted through that budget process for revenue. Again, I'm really big on not coming up short on revenue on those meetings. And then again, the rest of these we'll look at to make sure that they are appropriate. Interest earned, again, that's gonna be indexed. I'll monitor that to make sure that we're on track there. Do you have any questions on the revenue side of it? Permit and development fees, again, we're still in revenue, sorry. Residential building permits, I'll have to look at and project what I think this market's gonna do. We've got Deer Hollow coming on, we've got Heights West, Bartonville coming on. I think our building permits are gonna continue to be very high, residentially. Again, we end up with a lot of inspection fees on that as well, so there's always that offset. And then again, with Knights West Bartonville, or I think it's Knights West Bartonville, what your name decided to name that one. I don't know that we will see any more construction inspection fees. I'm not sure that I'll budget anything for next year, so we'll discuss that process. I don't see another subdivision coming online. So again, that doesn't apply to 3 lots being platted on Broome or any of that. We're talking about a subdivision with infrastructure where I need Shaw or Bart to come out and do the inspections. So again, that may dry up, also that expense won't be there as well. So there'll be an offset, probably about 1-to-1 there, so we'll be okay. And the municipal court, we'll continue to look at that. With the additional activity, I mean, we knew we had good people. They're really showing their potential now and they're out there a lot. So I may have to look at my revenues on that side and increase that as well. But I'll also look at the cost side because I think, Judge Ramsey is also looking for an increase because, our court days are pretty long. the dockets are pretty full, and so I think I see it all set there. Any questions on the revenue side of the equation?
Ask you a question on. Have you heard any more information pertaining to like the Maharana property? You're talking about subdivision and so forth. I know at one time we were going to look at 7 different lots, that's what I heard.
Over here?
Mhm.
I don't,
Is there any-
no Shaw's.
Oh, no, Shaw.
Yeah.
They are, the last I saw was 4 lots that would front Jeter and still would, I mean, it could be subdivided that way.
They are frontage on.
Every one of them was frontage on Jeter.
That is my question.
That's all I have seen, but he's not come back since. Some of them were not 10 acres, he still has ag zoning there, so they have to go back to a rezone. I don't know if he could break it up differently. They could create a subdivision that would be difficult there with one way. Not impossible.
So we don't give you any direction, I mean.
This is just, you all can ask questions if you, I mean, if you want to start giving direction, you know, just from a.
Well, I didn't know it, okay, okay.
You know,
Thought maybe I should tell you to go ahead and work on those financials.
Great job, just keep it up.
One more question. Yes, sir. You mentioned earlier in your presentation there about the DCAD, meeting that, channel 1 to 10. Is that meeting, what will that meeting, present to you, what was it, what was it, all involved?
Typically, last year it was a lunch meeting and they really go through their processes and the schedule, when we should expect to see their statutory requirements, and then there's what the DCAT is.
Well, that's not really anything that would be available for public.
No, this is town secretaries, town administrators, and finance directors.
I've had a number of people inquire about, I've been able to attend meetings and so forth with DCAD. When you mentioned that, it just kind of rang beyond what I was expecting.
This is for all those involved in the budgeting process. They be such a huge part of what we've been using with revenue. And again, so this meeting at least is directed to, again, administrators, town secretaries, finance.
Okay.
Again, we'll do the same thing, Shannon and I will get together. One thing we're gonna do, try to find time to do differently this year. When we have budget categories, expenditures, historically, the town hasn't loaded in what those are. So I've got travel training, I just have travel training. But we're gonna add a little more detail, what that is it gonna be, training seminars, is it gonna be travel to, it used to be an International Council of Shopping Centers, the answer is no there, but, a little more detail, so, if somebody else has to come in, if there's, council has questions, you kind of know a little more detail about what that is. It's not just travel training and I got $15,000, it's, here's what we do with that. So again, that was our goal, just wanted to get through this budget. Last year, but we both talked about it because we both kind of came from that ASLIT and previous jobs where you had just a little more detail about your business. So special events, is that just Christmas and Memorial Day, or is that, and this year I had several other things loaded in there, but I didn't have a show. Right. So that's why we did it in that phase. We're gonna try to avoid that in the future. Workers' compensation, again, that one was highlighted on mine as well, and I ran down and said, Shannon, what's this? And she goes, you remember? Yeah, I remember. We had that conversation, I think it was pre-surgery.
You're right.
But we're good now. So again, we will look at those expenditures, like right now, Chris has been mostly on projects, so my engineering's outlining looks really good. When Knights West begins up, that'll start looking less good. But again, it'll be offset by that $46,000 they put in there, so that'll balance out. So again, we go through those categories and make sure that we're allocating the funds where they need to be. And if we're running really hot in one and cold in another, we'll move those through this budget process and you'll see it. You'll see the changes as we go through to see where we did need money and where we actually needed more than we thought. For example, right now we're sitting on contract labor, $17,300. I haven't spent a dime on that. That's because it's tree removal. That's what we go through. and they can clear up the roads right away and everything else. Yeah, so, and it's not free, it's gonna be a benefit because I just gotta get that tree shovels on the count.
Too cheap.
Hey, you get a side job, you want to.
Great research.
So again, that's our process. Sharon's gonna talk more about the calendar. I just wanted to see, we talked about y'all seeing the detail, again, not monthly, because I don't want to bog it down, but certainly, I think as we begin this process, we should see everything.
Yeah.
But again, I always have that with me, if you got specific questions.
Okay.
Any direction, any other thoughts on that? I'm sure.
Thank you for doing a great job. Number 10, discussion of proposed fiscal year 2024, 2025 budget calendar. Shannon, everybody get their phone now.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The calendar in front of you that I put in your packet, obviously it's a draft, if we need to look at something, we can. I first want to address the color coding. The last time Thad and the mayor looked at this with me, we decided that we needed to put some color coding on here, and it was a great idea. I have listed every single meeting between now and the end of the fiscal year on here. And most of them will be regular, which is the blue. We will have one special meeting that's scheduled in September. It's the first week in September, right after Labor Day. That is the same that we've done in the past couple of years. That's where we'll have our public hearing on the budget, so that way we can go ahead and approve it at the September 17th meeting. And of course, with special meetings, with general law A, we need to have a majority of council at special meetings, which is September 3. And then also, we have to have a special amount of council meeting members at the meetings that we ratify the tax rate, which is September 17th. So we really need to make sure that everybody is available for the September meetings. If you are not, we'll have to reschedule and come up with something else. I know it's a little far out there.
Minimum of 4.
Minimum of 4 plus the mayor.
Okay. For both of those September meetings.
Yes, because one's a special meeting and the other one we're ratifying the tax rate, so both of those are fine.
3rd and 17th.
Yes, yes, ma'am. And then also on here, we have put in all of our yellow dates, which are what staff needs to do and make sure that we're running along with the tax rate deadlines and the council deadlines and whatnot, what needs to be published when. And then we've given an overview of what we will be discussing at each of the council meetings, bringing forward to you. And that's why we started this month, because with March, as Thad said, mid-year, 6 months, so we wanted to make sure that we have this in front of everybody, so we can start looking at this and making sure that we can meet all of our deadlines and whatnot. And you, the next question that the mayor, Thad, and I were discussing, with the new start time at 6:30, did we want to make the budget workshop start at 6 with the regular meeting starting at 6:30? That way we have 30 minutes or so to talk about budget before people started coming in and they know our staff.
That's what we did
Yeah,
last time.
that's what we do last year.
Yes.
And we can talk about the budget longer if we need to, but the meeting can't start until 6:30. So if we talk about the budget from 6 to 6:15, you can't start the meeting until 6:30.
Correct.
But we can run over on the budget if we need to. Everybody, so are y'all okay with 6 o'clock start time? Okay.
And that will be on.
It'll be June, July, May, June, July, or when? What?
We didn't really discuss that. We could start, I mean, we had budget on this item, on this council meeting as well, but specifically when we start getting our tax rates and whatnot, we really need to specifically talk about those. So I'm gonna say July and August and September would be the 6 to 6:30.
Plus, not starting earlier, leaving at 6:30, we've got our normal regular attendance that doesn't throw them off.
Yeah, that was what we were really trying to make sure that we didn't confuse anybody with.
July, August, and September? 6 o'clock start time? Very okay.
Looking at this, please, if you do come up with a conflict, please let me know as soon as possible, and then we can pull everybody else.
We'll be talking about the budget in June too, right?
We will be starting,
Direction, again, I don't have
Okay.
the property tax information.
Okay.
Probably July. Until July, really. I mean, they're preliminaries. last year were awful because they were doing the 30,000, 100,000, all these different things. The homestead exemptions, and so they were kind of all over the place until we got really in.
And we always talk about raises and that kind of thing in August or September.
Usually close to the end, because we're pretty firm on our revenue projections by then, and so it's all part of that equation.
Okay. All right. Everybody good? Closed section, pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, chapter 551, and Plain Council will meet for executive session in accordance with the Texas Government Code. And one section 551, and another section consultation with the county attorney to seek legal advice concerning the pending or contemplated litigation regarding the sanitary sewer nuisance 1287 Gibbons Road, Town of Bartonville, Texas, versus Colorado, problem number 53-11. 429-47 pending in the 467th District Court of Benton County. Time being 7:38, convened in the closed session.
Yes. You know what, let's make that a New Year's 2025. Yes. It's too funny. Oh.
Let me define.
Got that little strip right there. Wow, I was just looking at it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It messes with, yeah.
Yeah, we should.
Sure.
We're getting out of here. We're just saying goodbye. Let's see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Y'all tell me to go. See you. See y'all later.
We're gonna stay in here. We're gonna stay in here. We're gonna stay in here. Yes. Are they gonna turn the? Yes, we'll turn all that off.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's here with lock.
Yeah. Matt, when you bought the.
We started to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of-
I read it on the way this afternoon, I was like, good God.
I know.
Oh, gee.
You have today?
Gee. I went and drove straight here from the airport.
I tell you what, it's really appreciated is when you go to somebody else's house.
If you get pretty triple.
Not a day.
Go to Dallas. Everybody's in.
The people speaking just out of the ground.
Okay.
That's all.
It's off. Okay, everything's off. Good, thank you. Okay.
All right, we're following up again on the property lawsuit, and since last month, we got good judgment from the court. So I've looked at one thing, I have not heard anything from her. She's not filing anything by way of an appeal, and this coming Friday is the 45th day, which would be the deadline for the final motion to lead to file late appeal and that kind of thing. So that's why you're waiting until today. So the first task that won't cost that much money, and I recommend going ahead and doing this, is starting next week, what I can do is I can get abstracts of judgment, which is a legal document that is issued by the clerk of the court that summarizes what the judgment says by way of monetary value and date and all that kind of stuff. There's some statutory particulars about what it needs to say, but it's an official document issued by the clerk. I take that and then I file it in the county clerk's office, and the county clerk's office is the official records, including property records. And so I file that in the counties where I know she has property. Well, as we talked about last time, she has property not only here in the county, but also over in Montague County. So I would file it in both county clerk's offices, and that judgment is good for 10 years. Once I file it and get a file mark copy back, then what I recommend doing is sending her a demand letter and letting her know that the town is interested in having her pay not only the $3,000 lien for the pump out jobs, but also the judgment of the court, which includes the $31,000 attorney's fees. And give her a 30-day deadline to pay, standard. What I would like to also do is see if I can find out who the other co-owners are in Montague County of the property she owns there. She owns several pieces of property, but all of them are undivided interests. And so, I'll get to that aspect of it in just a minute. All of that probably would own just file them abstracts of the title, of judgment, sending the demand letter, and all that kind of stuff. Really would, that to me, depending on if she comes up or any hiccups in the way, I can do that fairly cheaply, $500, and somewhere between $500 and $1,000. Probably less. Okay, that's the easy part. Other collection tasks are harder. The first thing that really has to happen is, we know about our Monte non-exempt property in Monte County, but it's an undivided interest. Normally, if you want to execute on property to satisfy judgment, you need to find out what all she has. Not just real estate, but bank accounts, IRAs, personal property that she may have, if it's more than a car. You want to find out what is non-exempt property. Exempt property is stuff Texas law says you can't touch to satisfy judgment, like her homestead, like one car, like two guns, a donkey. I mean, there's a list of statutes.
He's not here.
Seriously.
That's why it's funny. No, he's not. That's why it's funny.
I mean,
I was gonna say you, but yeah.
so, but I want to find out what is, what we call non-exempt. And to do that, you have to engage in post-judgment discovery. And so discovery means you can send out questions, by way of interrogatories, requests for production of documents. You want her to respond. Well, we know how she is.
She did not show up in municipal court.
And that was the most recent thing, by the way, that's gone up to all her 12 other fines, like $100,000.
$1,000 now. She's thinking like she can't do her driver's license.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, she'll figure that out soon. Seriously, it's one of those things, they kind of fix the loophole along.
And
They call stop laws, because we don't pay fines and fees like, Skull Rock or something.
it's on our report.
Yeah.
I think the co-owner's last name are McDonald, MNC, Donald, they're her brothers, pretty sure.
Well, we talked about that before, but I gotta get the record.
Yeah. And I think you can get all that off the, Monte County.
Probably, but I can do that, and I'm fairly able to do that pretty easily. So I would copy them on the demand letter, because I would mention how I filed these abstracts of judgment in both counties, which the whole goal there is to make them upset in a nice professional legal way, because they will then realize that if they have any thoughts about selling the property, they can't until they own.
No, nobody can,
Right.
because it's an undivided interest, you're encumbering everybody.
I'm encumbering everybody, and so I spent some time looking at how to divide out her interest or get it divided. And state law doesn't help us there for judgments. Owners can. Now, if the three of them want to file a petition lawsuit among themselves and either have some sort of equitable partition or do something to divide the property into different pieces, that's a possible procedure. They gotta do it. The only forced sale you can do as a governmental entity is to pay taxes. And we're not collecting taxes.
I thought we could execute on our judgment, and this is just my understanding of things. You could foreclose the undivided interest, it's not defined because it's not
I'm
undivided.
getting there, but yeah, we can do a writ of execution on it, but We first have to designate to the sheriff what property we're executing on.
Right.
And the easy thing is just list the real estate, but that may not be enough, for one. And number two, what it's gonna do is trigger potentially a set of legal proceedings with the other two, or even with her. And so that's gonna cost more money
For us.
for us.
So that's something we need to talk about.
I know, and that is, you know, I joked with Dad, because we're talking about looking at my crystal ball on this. Well, I have a crystal ball in my office, and it says Baylor Bears 2021 basketball national champions. That's the crystal ball I have. Other than that, I don't, it's a water crystal ball. But the test on how much money it will cost really depends on a bunch of factors about how much resistance I get and how much resistance through legal counsel that they hire and those kinds of things. We could just kind of play it a step at a time. I can do this first part and then report back to y'all next month.
Okay.
See if I've heard anything, and just do this first part first.
Can we spend about $1,000 and just stir a bunch of stuff up for them?
Yeah,
Like a beehive, like kicking a beehive, and then just sit and see what
I think domesticating judgment, I will stir up a little bit.
once I get that stuff filed.
Because-
So we don't have to,
They
yeah.
cannot, they cannot encumber the properties.
No,
They can't encumber it, they cannot partition it, they cannot sell it without us.
yeah, so
They can't do anything.
the goal there is to force fund laws in. I like to step in there. And so, you
Yeah,
know,
step number one.
That's the first one. The first one, so these are these properties, are they individual names or trust?
We're not sure it is.
they're in individual names. For example, when I look at,
Kind of like a polar property, they all own it together.
it's kind of like,
It's in the name of us.
you know, look at the seals and how they had it until they partitioned it, right?
Through lawsuit.
Yeah.
So here,
Yeah, they got it.
here I have, Paula A. Harvey on Gibbons Road, and this is the legal description, it's a, the acreage total, well, her part of it, and she owns 0.334 of an interest, so third. And that gives her 53.440 acres. The total amount is triple that.
So she has 53 acres, is that what you said?
53.44 acres.
Her and her brothers.
And it's
Yeah, I know, I'm trying to figure out what hers is though.
It's not bad.
Okay,
You know, and just, if y'all have property, don't do that to your kids.
yeah,
But the thing with the partition act is, it's not based, they're not gonna carve it up based on acreage, they carve it up based on value. So you might get a smaller acreage piece, but it's gonna be 1/3 value.
that's what I was asking you.
Because it takes into account topography and whatever minerals, whatever costs, just, you know.
Yeah.
This is an appraisal that helps. So, but Keith's right, I think if we can stir the pot this way, a lot of times it helps generate, interest.
Because her brothers can get this notice, or
I
the
mean,
other,
I think talking about,
yeah, they're gonna get it.
they're gonna call her up and say, what have you done? Motivation.
And we get, everything most detailed, is gonna be like that, you see the kick that beehive, it's gonna cost us $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
You can get to a point where you just keep on throwing money and money and money, and you get to a point.
Well, and that's a slippery slope on the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, there are procedures to follow. And if this were $300,000 judgment, I recommend it going forward.
Yeah.
But it isn't.
It gives a very detailed monthly report, billing, all of it done in 0.2 hours. So again, I can track that, so when we meet again for next step, I'll know what you spent.
But in-
Yeah, he's giving us a pretty good, Ed's pretty good about giving us an estimate of moving forward with this next step, you're gonna spend X amount.
We can get a settlement too, is that? Sure, that's a possibility too, I mean, she may agree to pay some part of it, I hope. more than half.
Yeah.
Some good, some good thing, it worked good out of it, because here's the deal, just till we finish the whole process, so you can, we'll have it done, and when I talk about it again, it won't be so new sounding. But the steps are you conduct some discovery to find out what the person owns that's not exempt property. And then once you find that, you can do writs of execution, tell the sheriff, go get this, go get that tractor, but not this one, or go that car, and not, I mean, if the sheriff can go seize it, if you tell the sheriff what he's gonna go seize, he needs guidance on what he goes and gets. The other part of it is that if you file this proceeding with the court, it's the same judge, it's the same court, and it's called a turnover proceeding, where you are asking the court to, order X property on a list turned over, and the sheriff seizes it and sells it and satisfies the judge. And I've had some limited success on the turnover statute because I had a judgment in a federal case of a guy who was you don't see much Republican Texas folks anymore, they're mostly solid citizens, but this was those. Sure do. Mostly in the municipal court, they're very, difficult people. So what happens is, I had a guy, and he filed a federal lawsuit, because he was a Republican Texas guy, long story. And I won, I got it, and it cost my client, my city client, quite a bit of money to win. And then I proceeded to try to collect the costs, so $5,000 or $6,000. And I didn't spend much, didn't take much to send him a letter and then send him discovery and that kind of stuff. And then, when I filed the motion for the turnover order, he called me. Can we settle this? And so, Republican Texas folks, if you remember, they really don't like any monetary standard other than the gold standard. But I'm talking to my client, and he was willing to fork over $3,000 to put it to bed. I said, sure, that's fine. So we arranged for the meeting, he came to my office, whereupon he whipped out 30 crisp $100 bills, which to me was the most hypocritical thing, reading all this stuff in the right. So that's an option. I mean, that to your point, it could happen. It may be that the brothers help, just to get it off their property. Some.
Again, we were gonna say, they should know, but.
Well,
No.
That's where they're going.
No.
the brothers make cannabis business, brother, sister, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe she's the black sheep.
And maybe they'll just buy, they wanna buy her out to get it away from her and say, here, you know, buy her out, you take this money.
So,
Worst case scenario, if all this fell through, would you still not have the ability to put a lien judgment on that property?
it's already in, it's already happened.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's good for the way. To get the money.
Well, for 10 years, it sits there, and then you can renew it another 10 years. Don't know if I'll be around in 10 years, frankly.
But that doesn't take much.
Would have to.
It's just refiling,
Yeah.
refiling.
Yeah.
That's even gonna be around, I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
How do brothers get the power to do that? Well,
Calendars.
calendars. I mean, operationally, I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
We gotta make a particular note, so. Meeting planner 9.5 years from now. I've got, told you all about where the mobile home park in Johnson County, another city or ours down there. And it was a septic problem, but it was on a mobile home park. And I got a judgment, and there the judge only gave me half my fees. With some extra and interest. And I've had 3 phone calls that only resulted when I told him what the number was, that the sale fell through. So he's still owning that property. But come September, I got to renew it. It's 10 years. So.
We use Tickler files now for like in contracts, so we have 5-year Yeah, we've been 100% turnover, but we are waste, yeah, we have a system. Or anybody anyway.
Plus, she's 70, you know, so
That's so sharp.
that's, she does not look 70, I'll give her that. But she,
Her daughter came to the municipal court, took care of her citation, but she was a no-show. Again, those escalate, once they go into collections.
Paula's no-show?
Paul was a no-show.
all 12.
All 12, that went to $9,000.
Stop.
Again, it goes into collections and that sits there, when you go renew your driver's license, they will not renew because you're. We don't, through our municipal court, we don't send out warrants. We don't arrest for those things, we weren't.
City of Dallas does, you know, if they take care of, they should, here in a while.
Goes back to work. They have a nice big
So
jail.
everybody's okay with the
I'll
step?
do step one, I'll send
No,
that.
steps, absolutely, do that.
Okay.
We'll go ahead.
Let's see what the brothers, let's see what the brothers say.
You know, you're ready to have this. They can't do that.
They're gonna be happy.
No.
You may get a call on that.
Time being 7:59, we're back in, reconvening the open session. No item, no action taken. Time being 7:59, meeting adjourned. Wait, no, one other item. We need to talk about what's put on the May agenda. So,
Just talk about the.
cleanup day, that's one thing. Anything else?
The newly elected officials will be taking their oath of office.
Yes.
Okay.
I have one question. Where did we ever land? I know we talked last year about, setting a rhythm for employee reviews and increases.
We've been doing that.
Is it all, is it all gonna fall in with the budget? When's it gonna?
Yeah, it happens to everybody.
Basically, I have an October 1.
That's what
Through this last process, we have gotten everybody on October.
It's all harmonized, you know.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
I do have one question about the bar ditches that we have around town that's holding a lot of water. I've seen more water flooding around lately. Maybe just because there's been more rain or whatever it is, things change. Right in my house and across the street from my house, those turn into small ponds and stay that way for days and days. I still can't make the center of my bar ditch. It's still a swamp.
You didn't even notice it, did you?
Is that something,
You have been,
is that something we need to put on the agenda?
I just don't know if we need to talk about how we see what the next steps are for these and that stuff is all and where that onus for that is. I don't know if they might have with me, but I know there's lots of people around town flooding part of
That ordinance is all the way out to the road for the property owner, but again, it's kind of universal right now. And it's also it's the state's so wet, you can't mow it, and if you're not mowing it, then it's gonna continue to have it stand. We're also looking at, we've got a few collapsed culverts around, and we're gonna start sending out, warnings for those as well, but they need to get those fixed. So yeah, it's bad right now. And again, I'm not sure if you even know, I'd like that discussion because I don't know what to tell residents either about, well, I don't know that I want to just go out there digging randomly. You know, what's the depth, what's the proper slope, I don't want you digging under my road. So there's a lot of discussion, so there's a lot to it.
Yes, Carol, it's on Hunter Court, little ditch that is adjacent to my house. The town water line is right there. I mean, it's only about 6 inches underground.
You got a bunch of utilities out here as well.
You know, could Chris make a presentation maybe in May? I'm just throwing this out, in terms of any remedies for these issues? What do other towns do? You know, do we have any options?
I don't know if you can make it for me, but let me see what I can do. Chris, we've driven around and
The situation is that we're talking about the collapsed culvert on Jeter, right? That's partially that's the standing water in those bar ditches.
And that's probably.
We repair the culvert, we're responsible for grading to the road.
I
to
don't know.
maintain the road.
Yeah.
But then we ask the citizens to maintain, you know, collected 16 years of garbage in my front, or in the dirt and everything else is rolled down the hill.
Right. Well,
So
so
I'm personally experiencing it, but I'm sure others have other citizens.
there's a lot of it going on, and Macon is a real mess. That, to fix the drainage, it just sits over there in front of, trifecta, because basically that, like, everything is rolled down in a bowl, and it just sits
There's
there.
some pretty bad spots.
It's about $700,000 to fix that.
That's the problem, when I was trying to fix these, you have an extra few million later.
Correct.
So it all used to go to that pond right there on the south side of Trifecta.
But I'll ride around with Chris again, and we'll start looking at those areas, especially when we know about them. If there might be an easy solution. There might be a $4,000 or $5,000 solution where we get Andy to go grade and seed it, and then you've got to maintain from there, because we've done that in Saddlebrook apparently. I've got,
Redo that culvert near your house, I mean, that one's pretty bad, it probably goes across the road, it's rusted out. We were supposed to replace that several years ago, we never did. It's really bad.
you got one on the road that's.
Near Randy and, they're on, Devon's, it's really bad.
That's what I tell them, up to the road is you, but if it runs on the road, it's mine. We gotta take care of those as well, because almost no matter what you do, if it's sitting in there, it's not gonna go anywhere.
Also, as I discussed with you, one of the negative things is that so many people have got these cables in the ditch. And that's like in my case, and when I've talked to you before, I've had the AT&T, I've had Frontier, I've had ProServe, I've had department out there and all of them, but, once you start digging, it doesn't matter, there's no, no voltages out unless you try all the cables. And if you do, one cable alone is $3,500 per deal. AT&T wants $1,850.
Yeah.
They won't give you a break. They won't come out there and get a market for you, but they say, we put it down, you take it up.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know
we,
who cut it, but they killed all given to her for 4 days.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Well, marking of it doesn't matter, it's what they leave your site in. It's like a pig's tail. So they stick a flag here, the line might be 18 inches on either side of
They
that flag.
tell me you move 16 inches on either side, and that's what it is, that's 32 inches, you gotta dig the part just to find the cable.
so we can, y'all can, you and Chris can drive around, I guess, and look at that, and we can, I guess, put it on the agenda and see if there's anything. Yeah, does that sound good for everybody? Okay, time being 8:05, you can adjourn.
Thank you.